All right, people. I'm learning this stuff all the time. I am learning this more and more and more. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Candy Zenon. I'm an author and a life improvement coach, and I am also the CEO founder of Changing Seasons Life Coaching, where I help single moms strengthen their faith, family, and finances through one-on-one coaching, books, mentorships, and live events. And I just finished a class. I normally do a class on Saturdays at 11. And actually, today was the last day of that session. So it normally goes on for 4 or 5 weeks. Don't really remember. And we complete an entire session about finances. And today I was thinking about what about the spirit component of your money? Because we talk a lot about spending plan and budgets and managing your money and calculating and counting the costs. But what about the agreements that you've made spiritually that's hindering your finances? You know how they say, don't make a major decision when you have experienced a great loss, because the decisions that you make in that loss may cost you more, right? You're not in your right frame of mind. A lot of times we make agreements, and I just read a post earlier. It had stated, I'm not going to do uh, good things. Oh, I'm not going to stop doing good things. I'm just going to stop doing it for certain people. But isn't that really still changing who you are if you're a natural giver? If you naturally love to give, you give. I used to say, when I have encountered those same feelings, I'm not giving a dime or a darn. And I probably didn't use the word darn. But it starts to break something in me. Why? Because I'm a natural giver. And I feel when you allow outside expectations to change who you are, it literally changes everything. It doesn't just change your natural character, it also changes your emotions. It changes you spiritually. It changes your outlook. And you start holding on to these mantras like, there's no good people in the world, or nothing never changed. Or I had one coworker that used to say, um, blanks, flies, and cockroaches. Right. So we start holding on to these mantras based on that one experience. And a lot of times you say, oh, that experience didn't change me. And you can be telling the story to somebody and you still feel that same emotion and you feel that same anger, or you have to step away, or you don't want to continue doing the activity that you originally were doing. And why? Because those emotions come up. And when those emotions come up, that's how you really know that you're not healed from that. I remember when I had went to Lowe's store, and the cashier, I mean, you could feel her cloud. It was like the Charlie Brown cloud. It was just this energy of discontentment and just frustration, and whoo. And I entered it like, what else is I'm like, I need to purchase my items. That's, her business. But I entered into the cloud, right? And she was just telling me how she ended up in Georgia and she hated Georgia. And she told me why she got here and why she came here and what she was expecting. And she would never, and she could never. And I'm like, well, I was like, well, you just moved here? She said, oh, no, that happened 12 years ago. I'm like, wow, but you still have these emotions alive as if it happened yesterday. And you have to identify in yourself if you are holding on to frustrations of expectation, because that's where the frustration lies. It lies in how you expected the person to show up. You expected them to handle the situation as like you would have handled the situation, but they are not you. They are them, and they handled it the best way that they knew how, based on their education, based on their upbringing, based on their beliefs, based on their cultural beliefs, based on how they felt it should have been handled. Now you get to allow yourself to identify the things that's been frustrating you. I identify the anxieties that you're holding on to. Identify the stories that you keep repeating over and over again. And that's your clue that you haven't healed from that. A lot of times we make decisions based on belief patterns that we adopted from these declarations. When you say, I would never do that, or I'm never going to give again, or I'm not going to do that. Um, and there are spirits that are connected to that declaration. And then you start living in this perpetual cycle, and cycles of patterns and beliefs, and those cycles keep you where you started at. So if you find yourself 50 years down the road, still in the same situation, the same place, doing the same thing, you have to identify what are the behaviors that keep you in that same place. Because the only way to change out of the place is to change the behavior. But before you can get to the behavior, you have to get to the thought. What is the thought? What is the declaration? What is the belief that you adopted as your own that allowed you to get there? And next thing you do, you change the thought. The most powerful weapon you have in your possession is a made up mind, a changed mind. So you're just one thought away from the desire that you want. Just change your mind. Change your mind. Let go of these heavy mantras that this is the way it is. This is the way it's always going to be. There's never enough money. The rich keep getting richer. Change those behaviors. We are a mind, we are three-part beings, right? We got a spirit and a soul housed in a body. And you have to maintenance all three parts. If the spiritual component of your money isn't well, the physical component of that money will not be well either. If you work and don't tithe, whatever you gave your money first to, at the very beginning when you cashed that check, if you took your money to Whataburger, if you took your money to Nike shoe store, if you took your money to Quick Pick lottery ticket, that's your God. And to thine own self be true. And just like I told a Muslim when he was telling me back and forth about who his God is, to your God be true. If your God provides, your Jehovah Jireh, your provider, if your God heals, if your God shepherds, if that's your God, let him save you in those times when you have an emergency, when you have a health crisis, when you have a family crisis. That pick three should come through for you. But if that pick three don't come through for you, maybe you need to switch gods. Maybe you need to demonstrate worship and giving 10% of your earnings. And it's just a demonstration. God owns everything. He created the heaven and earth and the universe. But it's a demonstration of worship when you take 10% of your earnings and tithe. It's not about pastor. It's not about bishop. It's not about what all of those people do at the church. It's about your relationship with your God. That's one spiritual component that you can look at. If you're showing the first demonstration of when you have money, I heard someone say, if you want to know about a person, ask them to look at their bank statement and see what the first 10 things that they give their money to. And that could tell you more about them than actually being with them. So I wanted to get on here, just kind of talk this out because I just really thought about this. We will be meeting for the last Zoom meeting, and I say, you know what, green it up before you Black Friday out on November 16th. We're getting together. It's a quick workshop, 45 minutes strong, 45 minutes strong, right? And you get on there and you learn about 5 ways to increase your income with your current job. This isn't selling pizzas. This isn't driving Uber. This is to learn to be a good steward of what you already have. And I want to share that with you. Last week, we had one person that was able to identify within those 45 minutes strong, 45 minutes, $2,700 that was already in her household that she was sending it out without realizing it. Right? So I just posted a video. We did a quick cash Zoom portion of our class today. And right there before the class ended, you see right then, she said, hey, I received a call back. She was able to get quick cash just on the steps that I had identified. A lot of times we keep praying because we have a need. We have a need, right? And God answers with a seed. And what does that seed look like? It looks like creative ideas, witty inventions. It looks like knowledge. It's a seed. It's not a check form. We take that seed, we plant it in the ground, and we eat from the harvest. But we keep eating the seed, and a couple of hours later, we say, we're hungry. We're hungry. Stop eating the seed. Stop eating the seed, people. You need to plant the seed and eat from the harvest. But sometimes you don't know to do that. So you have professionals like me, you have coaches, you have counselors, you have therapists that can see your blind spot. And they can come alongside of you and help you say, change this, add this, tweak this. They could co create a plan with you. Not only that, they can hold you accountable. They can also encourage you because a lot of times when we start doing something new, we want to revert back to what's familiar, right? And what's comfortable. So you have that coach that come alongside saying, come on, what was the plan? What was the next step? What's the next step? What's the last step until you reach that goal? So, yes, I wanted to come on here and just talk about something that I just thought about on a Zoom class today. Just the spiritual component that affects your money. I heard Bishop Earthquake Kelly state that there are cycles that we enter into because of the spirits that's connected to those declarations. When you shout out, I'm never helping a person again, or I'm never giving my money to tithe, or I'm never feeding the hungry, or I'm never. There's a spirit that comes and connect to that agreement and make that thing happen. And whatever chaos or turmoil or things that come with that, that's because of the declaration that you've made. Even the soul wounds, even if our souls aren't healed, there's an assignment to that soul wound. In my book, Hope for a Rainy Day, I wrote about that if a soul wound isn't quickly healed, it starts to infect and infest everything that you touch or say or do. Why? Because you're operating from a place of hurt. And a place of hurt doesn't allow you to show up at your best self. You're very cautious. You're very distrusting. And so you end up just maneuvering through the world in a way that does not allow you to hear and see clearly. Everything you hear is distorted because it comes through a filter of hurt, uh, damage, you're distrusting, you're hurt, you've been betrayed, um, and it all have to go through that filter. And you ever try to listen? Have you ever lived in an apartment? And I remember we used to put the glass to the wall so, so we could hear clearly what's going on in the next apartment. But have you ever heard, like, lived in an apartment complex And on the other side of the wall, somebody was fussing, they were having an argument, or something was going on, and you was trying to hear it. And although you could hear it, it was muffled, right? And that's what those soul wounds do. It muffles everything. A person could be just simply trying to give you something, and you telling them all of the reasons why you don't give, you don't take, or you don't do, or you don't trust. And all they did was offered you something that was going to benefit you. But you couldn't hear it clearly because you had so many soul wounds. Soul wounds of frustration, anxiety, hurt. You're feeling dirty, damaged, indifferent. Sometimes there's shame or guilt that's involved. And so everything that's coming to you is muffled. And there's so much mind chatter that goes on because you're trying to stay clear of that hurt. You don't want to get hurt again, or you don't want to trust again, or you don't want to befriend again. You don't want to go out again. And you're trying to stay clear of that hurt. So you maneuver in the world just barely as a shadow. That's not God's best for you. And so I wanted to just make you aware of maybe it's time to identify those things that keeps you from showing up again. Even in rejection and abandonment, rejection in relationships, rejections from not just romantic relationships, but what about business partnerships? What about friendships? What ship that you felt that sailed without you and you should have been on that ship, right? Maybe it was just time to get off that ship. I've heard someone say that rejection is God's protection. Maybe that was God protecting you for what's to come, or they actually knew that person's heart towards you. Maybe they were in your life mimicking you. Maybe they were in your life just to get information. What was it? Infidel? Wait, what is that? When you want to get the information for somebody else, so you take it back to the crew. Maybe they was just in there to get the intel, right? And take it back, and it wasn't really there for you. Maybe they were there for you to complete an assignment. Some people are called to the assignment, your assignment, and not necessarily to you. And we get those confused. And we feel when they leave our lives, they left us. No, they left because their assignment was completed. Their assignment to you was completed, and your assignment was completed. And so when it's time for you to move to the next level, you want to drag, you want to pull everybody there, but maybe they're not supposed to be there. So I want you to really think about those declarations you have made, those statements that you have, are the mantras that you hold on to that keep you there, that keep you stuck. I wanted to share this. Have you ever identified the belief or pattern that you find yourself in every year? And you say, I do this because. Like they interviewed a set of twins. One was a doctor and one was an alcoholic. And they asked the famous doctor, they said, well, why do you think you're so successful in your field? And he said, because my mom was an alcoholic. And then so they interviewed his brother, and they asked him, why do you think you're alcoholic? He said, because I was raised by alcoholic. My mom was an alcoholic. So it was just perspective. You have to identify what part you're playing, what belief that you have that keep you there. Because sometimes you're frustrated how somebody should have showed up in your life, how they should have loved you, how they should have gave to you, how they should have celebrated you, or I gave to them, they should have gave to me. Well, a giver does not have the same assignment as a taker. Some come to give, some come to take. And you have to identify their part in your life. Why are you letting people in your life and not asking questions? And why are you giving without knowing the parameter of the gift? Is it a gift that hey, I'm giving this in exchange for something, well, make that clear. Say it up front. Hey, I'll babysit for you, but I'm going to need a ride next week. Make it clear. If the person say yeah or nay, decide then. Will you give? Will you not going to give? If you loaning someone some money, hey, I'm loaning you this money and I need it back on such and such day. Can they do that? Well, make that clear. Now, don't give the money and just say, oh, that person's supposed to pay me back. You didn't pay me back, but you didn't make that clear. You suggested like it was a gift. Oh, hey, I'm just handing it to you. Make it clear what you want, so that way you don't always get frustrated in what you thought they should have done. Be clear. Be clear of what you want. And if it does not happen like you want it to happen, now you have the experience. You know better, and what you do the better that you know. So next time, hey, you talk some things out. Also, the whole of you is enough. Sometimes we don't show up because we don't feel like we're enough. So we shadow our way into the world and into places and to spaces because you don't feel you have enough education or enough social currency or enough beauty or age or whatever it is that's keeping you from being a shadow of yourself. You have to thine own self be true. Know that the whole sum total of you is enough, and you have to let go of these agreements that you have made about yourself, about your physical appearance, your education, your age, whatever it is that's keeping you from showing up in the world. Why? Because why I say that affects your money? Because anything closed off, it identifies as you're not in receivership. And wind is a currency, water is a currency, money is a currency. That's why they call it currency. Money is a currency, it flows. And if it comes to you and you're not in receivership, guess what? It said, oh, she's, or he's, whatever, not receiving. So what it does, it comes to you, then it passes you up, right? So you have to be open. You have to be open in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit. You have to be welcoming to whatever blessings and favor is coming towards you. And you can't have one side of you open and one side of you closed. It doesn't work like that. You know, you've heard the statement, how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's just like discipline. How you discipline, if you're disciplined in one area, it shows up in other areas of your life. So that's the same thing, your heart space. If you're close to receiving love, you close to receiving money. If you have unforgiveness in your heart or some type of hatred, envy, jealousy, all of that's making you broke and ugly. I don't know how to ugly but it is. It makes you ugly on the inside, and it make you distorted and contorted in your spirit, and you're not going to be able to receive any blessings and favor until you clean that up. Get rid of that. Forgive who you need to forgive. Um, Forgive yourself in the decisions that you made or the part that you played. Also, start putting boundaries and parameters around how you want to deal with certain people. Maybe you have to have a conversation with them. Hey, these are the boundaries I have put in place, and I want you to respect that. Or this is what you do. These are actions that you do towards me, hurt me, and allow that person to know, hey, they don't have to read your mind, and they're not responsible for your thoughts. They're responsible for what you have identified and what you've said to them. Now, once they know better, they do the better that they know. But if they don't do better, now what you gonna do? What you gonna do, Cletus? What are you gonna do about that? Do they get to stay? Do they get to stay in at the degree that they are? Or maybe do they get to maybe move back a couple of notches? Maybe you have to say, hey, I'm only deal with you when I have to, or I won't talk to you so much as much as I used to. Or when I see your conversation is going down this rabbit hole that I know that you're about to ask, beg, borrow, or manipulate me in a certain way, I'm gonna let go. I'm a hang up. I'm gonna discontinue the conversation. And you have permission to live your life. You don't have to ask them for permission. And like, oh, they go, I'm not gonna tell them anything because they're gonna take their love away from me. Is it really love or is it manipulation? And do you have to buy, sell, and trade love? If they love you, they're going to love you enough to stop hurting you. And they're going to love you enough to hear from you and allow you to explain how their actions make you feel. That's love. That's love. I don't want to hurt the people that I love. So I'm going to show up in a way that I'm ready to hear from you, whether I'm doing good or doing bad, right? So I want to know because I love you. So don't feel that you can't speak up because that person's going to take their love from you. Your feelings are valid. Give your feelings a voice. And if you need to maybe write it out first, if you need to journal it, say for instance, the person passed on. Well, write it all in a letter. Write it all down. Write it out. Write it down. Write it out. And then burn it. Burn it. And I'm telling you, it sounds simple, but something in the spiritual realm shift when you get all of that chatter off of your mind. It declutters your mind. God said, I give you beauty for ashes. A jar of oil for mourning, and a garment of praise for a spirit of heaviness. So it must be something to these ashes, right? I say burn it. Get it off your mind. So make sure that you release. Once you release it, don't rehearse it. So say for instance, you haven't seen somebody in some few years and you wanted to feel them in when this first happened. But once you release it, you don't need to feel nobody in. Do like Mr. said in Color Purple, you better not tell nobody but God. you, you better not tell nobody but God. No. So I wanted to just really share on here about the spiritual component. Yes, ma'am. Mm-mm. No, I had put it up there. You had taken it with the other set of bibs. So yes, I really don't want you to ignore the fact that your spirit can be hindering your money. Now, number 3, I don't know where these numbers came from because I ain't been numbering nothing since I've been on here. But I want you to invite God to that secret place. You know how sometimes you just can't put hurt words to the hurt, or you have that secret prayer that you just can't say out loud, but it's in your heart, it's stuck, it's in your throat, it's stuck there. Invite God there. Just like there's a story in the Bible about Lazarus was dead for 4 days. He was at the tomb, and you had Martha and Mary had told Jesus about it, and he said, "Bring me there." He said that he is the resurrection. Bring God to that dead thing. Bring him to the place that hurt, that hurt that you can't put words to, that specific thing. I don't know. I don't know. So that specific thing that you have in your heart and mind, you can bring God there, and He can be the resurrection to that dead thing. That to your joy. Some people think that they're going to be in mourning forever because of that betrayal, because of that hurt, or because of that loss. Bring God there. Maybe it's that frustration, that loss, that rejection, that abandonment. Bring God there. He said, I am the resurrection. And let Him resurrect joy. Allow Him to put that crown of joy on your head, as spoke about, I think in First Thessalonians 2:19. I really believe that a lot of times that things have died in us because of situations or things or people or encounters that occurred, and we made these declarations and thought that's it. That's it. I'm not doing that again. I'm not going there again. Like, I met this woman when I first started doing these workshops called Preparing to Be the Bride. And I was going past out my flyers. I was so excited about this workshop. And she said, huh, you see this ring here? And it was an old tarnished cluster cubic zirconium ring. I guess it was cubic zirconium. It could have been diamonds. I don't know. But anyway, she was dressed all in black, and her skirt was all the way to her ankles. And she said, "You see this ring right here?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." So she said, "This is a reminder of I'm never getting married again." I was like, "Well, why?" She said, "The man who gave me this ring, we planned our wedding, and I made it to the altar, and I get there, and he was not there. He had ended up marrying someone else the very next day, or 2 days later. He married a different woman." And I keep this ring on my finger to remind me of what I'm never doing again. So, so situations like that, we have to identify when we make those decrees. She made a lifetime decision based on one man's decision, right? He wasn't the one. You don't know. I'd rather somebody tell me, no, I don't want you, no matter when they tell me, versus choosing me and then hurting me, abusing me physically, financially, verbally. The man left. Let him go. But you don't decide your entire life to hold on to a distorted, tarnished clustering as a memorial to your pain. No, come from among the tombs. Bring Jesus to that area and have Him deliver you from that hurt, pain, shame, feeling of guilty, neglect, abandonment, trauma, and clean those wounds so that you're able to have the joy. You're able to be in receivership, that all things that's for you comes to you, even your money. Even your money. The last thing I wanted to say, trust God and refuse to live in the pain that sin created. Whatever that it was, sin that you've performed or was performed against you, protect your heart in a way of allowing God to heal you. Maneuver in the world in the way that you were originally designed. If you was originally a giver, be a giver. If you was originally joyful, be joyful. If you're originally a talker, don't be silenced by somebody else's actions. No, you like to talk, you have the gift of gab. Be who you are creatively and originally designed. Don't let trauma or the frustration of the expectation of how others should have, what they should have done, what they could have done. The truth is they did it. The fact is they did it. But the truth is, what did God say about it? And how did God say you should maneuver after it? Because life be life. Life happens. And don't stunt yourself in your growth, physically, mentally, or maturity, your maturation, or in your finances based on what happened to you. It happened to you. It was a moment in time and not a life sentence. That's all I wanted to say today. I want to invite you to come get on this Zoom. I'm telling you, it's exciting, impactful 45 minutes. You'll be blessed for it. Your money will be blessed for it. Once again, man, that is November 16th, 7 p.m. virtual. So you can do it with someone. You could come on by yourself, or you could share it with somebody who you think need it. If you don't need it, share it. It came to you to go through you. So once again, this is Candy Zenon, author and life improvement coach, hopefully helping you love through it, learn from it, and live after it. Continue enjoying your weekend. Thank you.